Alright, what is going on guys? It's Tazz here, and welcome back to the channel. Now today we've got for you guys is my season overview as well as finale review for Season 3 of Supergirl. So if you guys have not seen the entirety of Supergirl Season 3, spoiler warning, but with that out of the way, let's continue. Let me just start out by saying Supergirl Season 3, in my opinion, has been the best season of Supergirl so far. We finally had a really good villain in the form of Rain that we actually spent the entire season with, as well as I think that the show finally found a tone that really works for it. Slightly darker than it has been in past seasons, but still keeping these signature lighter tones as well as happy and fun moments from time to time that the show is known for. So back on the topic of the villain, the Sam/Rain character was definitely my favorite addition to the season. I really loved both characters and how Sam transformed into Rain in the first part of the season, and I just felt that we finally got a very strong villain storyline, having Rain as the main villain alongside Sam struggling to come to terms with her sort of split personality. And I think that this definitely made Rain the best Supergirl villain so far. But this darker tone of the show is evident right from the first episode of the season, where we still have Kara having to deal with the loss of MonEl and having to send him away at the end of last season. Also, at the beginning, we were quickly introduced to who would become the main villain of the season in the form of Samantha Arias, who we later found out was a genetically modified Kryptonian world killer who was sent to Earth to, well, you know, kill the world and create a sort of new Krypton on Earth. And the thing that I found the most interesting about these Sam and Rain characters throughout the season was the fact that Sam and Rain were two completely different personalities, who were eventually split into being two completely separate entities, and I thought that that was just a really cool part of the season. And whenever the Rain personality was showing through, we easily got some of our best moments throughout the season, because we just had this character that was so much more powerful than Supergirl all the way throughout the season. We always had Rain being this really powerful figure, and then after the death of the other two world killers and Rain was actually able to get the powers of them, Rain just became super overpowered, and I thought that having just this really powerful villain made up for some of the weaker villains that we've had in the past, and I thought that that was very nice to have just this very menacing, very powerful figure, this very powerful villain that Supergirl and the DEO had to go up against throughout the season. But it wasn't just Supergirl and the DEO going up against Rain and the World Killers throughout the season. We were also introduced to a team of superheroes who everybody knew was coming to the show, and everybody was very excited to see them coming to the show, and they are, of course, the Legion of Superheroes. With the introduction of the Legion early on in the season, we were reintroduced to MonEl, who had been spending the last 7 years in the future in the 31st century, and he had actually become the leader of the Legion and the Legionnaires. And those two Legionnaires that we were introduced to this season were Emra Ardeen, aka Saturn Girl, as well as Brainiac 5, or Brainy. And I did think that these Legion members were very cool to see throughout the season, and I am definitely very excited to see that Brainiac 5 will be sticking around for next season. In addition to the Legionnaires, Supergirl also had some help in fighting the World Killers with John's father, Marin. And now earlier on in the season, we were also introduced to him when we had a pretty cool episode taking place on Mars, and throughout the season we really got to see the relationship between John and his father develop, and it was definitely really sad to see what happened in the finale, but I will touch more on that when I talk about that finale. So in the last few episodes leading up into the finale, we had Lena working alongside Supergirl and the DEO trying to split Sam from Rain, knowing that they are both one in the same. And they were actually able to accomplish this goal through the use of a black kryptonite substance from Argo City known as MonEl. But after Sam was presumed to have been completely split from Rain, we actually had the Kryptonian makers actually end up bringing back Rain as a completely separate entity from Sam altogether. And with Rain completely brought back, this is what led into the crazy destruction going into the finale. With Rain completely brought back, the craziness of the plan to destroy the world and create a new Krypton on Earth had begun. So the finale starts off with a pretty awesome action sequence with the heroes of National City trying to prevent the destruction of the Earth and the creation of a new Krypton. And in all of the craziness, we do get a pretty awesome shout out to Superman, because we do hear over the news that it says says Superman saves Madagascar. So I think that shout out was pretty cool, and if you guys did notice that on the screen we actually did see a picture of Superman up there, so it's pretty nice for them to acknowledge that yes, Superman still does exist, even though we didn't see him at all this season. After the Superman shout out, we have the Legion arrive back in the present to help out and save Earth from its destruction. And after stopping a tidal wave with the help of the Legion, we transition over to John and his father and the sort of final goodbye between the two of them. And this was for sure one of the most emotional parts of the episode. They really want to hit you right in the feels right at the beginning of the episode. So we have this super emotional goodbye with John and his dad right before Marin stopped the destruction of the Earth by sacrificing himself. After the emotional goodbye to Jean's father, we had Sam going back into the Dark Valley and having to go through a trial of her own. Then we get our confirmation of why MonEl and Winn will not be around as much next season. After MonEl and Emra break off their marriage, Brainiac 5 reveals to MonEl and Winn that they are needed in the future to fight a distant relative of his that is trying to wipe out all AIs, and I think I know who that is, none other than the original Brainiac himself. So this explains why they won't be around as much next season, but this is still a pretty cool scene, getting the confirmation of the original Brainiac, as well as giving us the reason why Brainiac 5 will be around a lot more next season, as he was upgraded to a series regular, so it seems like he's basically going to be taking up Winn's job around the DEO. So I do really love the characters of MonEl and Winn, so it is pretty sad to see that they won't be around as much next season, but for Winn, he is going to still be a recurring character on the season for season 4, so it is not a complete goodbye to Winn. But MonEl, on the other hand, he has been confirmed to not be in season 4, so that is really unfortunate. I really did love MonEl, and I thought that he was a great character, and I think that all of his development from season 2 to now has been really amazing, so it's going to be really sad to not have MonEl on the show next season, and I guess at the moment there are no plans to bring him back, but who knows, maybe he'll come back for an episode or two as like a guest star or something, or if they don't want to bring him back in season 4, maybe he will come back for season 5. Fingers crossed MonEl comes back sooner rather than later. But moving on, the big dilemma of the episode was whether or not to kill Rain, because Supergirl does not kill, and as we all know, heroes don't kill, am I right? But after a talk with her mom, she decides that she will end up doing what is necessary to stop Rain, even if that means killing her. Then we go back to the Dark Valley, and we have another emotional scene in the episode between Sam and sort of like this ghost version of her mom. After a nice reconciliation between the two characters, we have Sam come out of the Dark Valley fully powered up and ready to help in the fight against Rain. And this is right where we transition to the big confrontation of the episode with Team Supergirl versus Rain and the Kryptonian Makers. This ends up being a pretty cool fight scene, even though the Makers were taken out pretty easily, but at least the fight between Rain and Supergirl ended up being pretty cool. Then right when it seems like Rain is about to kill Supergirl, Sam comes in and stabs Rain in the back with that pretty cool and big comic accurate sword. But to finish Rain off, Supergirl punches her right into this sort of fire pit thing, and this ends up killing Rain, but not before she goes kind of supernova, hitting Allura and MonEl with her heat vision right before she died. And this results in obviously the deaths of MonEl and Allura, and Supergirl then going back in time with the use of the Legion flight ring and trying to change it through messing with the timeline, kind of like Barry. But I do think that it is pretty weird that throughout the entire season, they have been kind of changing the timeline and fixing things to be the way that they want them to be, especially here with Supergirl going back in time and saving MonEl and Allura. I find it pretty weird that there are no big ramifications to changing the timeline like there would be to The Flash or on Legends of Tomorrow. So I do think it is pretty weird, but there is something that happens at the end that I think could in fact be a result of the timeline change. But I will touch more on that a bit later. So after going back in time, Supergirl ends up trying to do things the right way by taking Sam and Rain into the sort of Dark Valley area and having Sam actually defeat Rain by trapping her within herself for good. And this obviously does end up fixing the deaths and I guess erasing the past timeline where everybody died. So after celebrating the final defeat of Rain, everybody wraps up things back within the DEO. Kara and MonEl say their goodbyes, and MonEl gives Kara the Legion flight ring and kind of makes her an honorary member of the Legion, which I thought was very cool, and I feel like that ring is definitely going to come in handy sometime in the future. We also have Sam and Ruby thank Lena and Alex for everything that they did for them, and Lena then also confirms that all of the Kryptonian DNA is completely gone from Sam, and she is 100% human once again. So I guess that unfortunately throws out all of the future superhero, Supergirl, or Power Girl Sam theories that everybody had, including myself, so I think that that is kind of unfortunate that Sam doesn't actually have her powers anymore and that she's just, normal Sam once again, but since she is still alive, I do think that this does open the door for her to possibly return at some point in the future. Like I said, I really did love the Sam and Rain characters throughout the season, and I really think it would be pretty cool to see Sam come back at some point later on down the line. And who knows, maybe if she is really needed, they could somehow reactivate her Kryptonian powers if need be. I think that that would be pretty cool, but either way, I still think Sam coming back would be very cool to see, and I think that it is definitely a possibility. Then we have Wynn saying his goodbyes to James, confirming that he is in fact going to the future to help out with the Brainiac problem. We then also have a pretty surprising scene between Alex and John where she reveals that she wants to resign to end up being a mother, but then John counters this by promoting her to being the director of the DEO, and John will still be sticking around for parts of next season, but also letting Alex do what she wants as the director of the DEO. So I think that this is going to be pretty cool. I think that this may lead to Jean not being around quite as much at the beginning of next season, but I don't think that he is actually going anywhere. I'm pretty sure he is still going to be a regular next season, but I do also think it is going to be pretty cool to be having Alex as the director of the DEO and being Director Danvers. Next up, we have the goodbye between Kara and her mother. Allura is going to go back to Argo City, and as a parting gift, Lena ends up giving her some more of the Heronel to fuel Argo City into the future, as well as the recipe to make more when it is necessary. But when Allura did say that she was glad that none of it was left on Earth, it was kind of funny how you could just see Lena sitting in the back, like kind of looking away, like, oh yeah, there's none of this left here. There's no reason I would have kept any more of this, when obviously she has more, and we saw at the end of the episode that she had more, so I thought it was actually pretty funny that she was like, yeah, sure, there's no more of the black kryptonite here on Earth, just go take this. That's it. And finally, we have the big emotional goodbye with everybody saying goodbye to Wynn and sending him off to the future, and then we have also Brainiac taking up his new position in the DEO, taking up Wynn's space as I thought he would. And after all of these goodbyes, we did get another pretty surprising scene in where we saw that James actually outed himself as the Guardian to the world, which I thought was pretty cool, and I didn't really see this coming, but I guess they were kind of building towards this for the last few episodes of the season, so I think it is going to be pretty interesting that everybody knows that James is Guardian now. So is he going to still wear the mask, or is he going to have like a different mask, kind of like an upgrade to the suit next season? Who knows? But I do think that it is pretty cool that, hey, everybody now knows that James is Guardian. But then finally we get to the big cliffhanger of the season where we saw that Lena does in fact still have some more of the Heronel and is still experimenting on it. We then get a flashback to 48 hours earlier, right after the defeat of Rain. We see that this sort of black cloud of smoke comes off of the Heronel rock and ends up going all the way to Siberia, and then right when I saw that sort of Siberia tag pop up on the screen, I was like, are they doing what I think they're doing? And then we go down there, we see the soldiers getting ready, and we hear like the sirens going off, and we see that somebody is coming in the distance, and then who walks up? None other than Kara herself. And right when I saw that it was in fact a different version of Kara, or what we can assume is like a different version of Kara, or kind of like a clone of her, right then I was kind of freaking out, and I was like, oh shoot, they're actually doing a Red Sun storyline for next season. They're doing a sort of like a twist on the Red Sun Superman and making it kind of like a Red Sun Supergirl, or I guess a Red Daughter Supergirl. So I think that is going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out next season. There was actually an interview done with the showrunners, and they did confirm that this is in fact a sort sort of homage to the Red Sun Superman comics. So I think this is going to be pretty cool to see how this all plays out, and I'm just definitely very excited to see how this all unfolds next season. And I will go more in depth on this in a future video, but at the moment I feel like this is just kind of like a combination of the Red Sun Superman making this version of Kara a Red Daughter Supergirl, and possibly even combining this with the Dark Supergirl from the comics. So I feel like this clone of Kara was created obviously from the MonEl, splitting off an aspect of Kara's personality, and it is most likely going to be more of a dark evil side of Kara that we don't normally see. So again, I am very interested to see how this all plays out next season. So overall, I thought that this was a pretty amazing finale to the best season of Supergirl so far. We got the introduction of kind of like a Red Daughter Supergirl, as well as a tease for a more evil version of Lena, the setup of a future storyline fighting Brainiac in the future with the Legion of Superheroes, and a whole bunch more that I'm very excited to see how this all plays out in next season and in the future of the show going forward. So other than that, guys, I want to know your thoughts on all of this down in the comments below. What did you guys think of the finale for Supergirl Season 3, and what did you guys think of Supergirl Season 3 as a whole? I want to know your thoughts on all of this down in the comments below. But until next time, guys, it's been Tazz, and I will see you guys in the next video.